You've been working on a lot of upgrades and you think it's finally time to maybe delve into the very spooky and expensive realm of relic books. And then of course you're wondering, what book am I gonna buy first? What book should I pick with the free selectors that I'm getting? And of course, which books should I probably just buy last? Before we get into, of course, our first section, which is going to be the best book you can get for your selectors, I'm going to be saying that all of the damage numbers we're going to be talking about today is your percentage increase from going from a legendary to a relic book of that version. So without further ado, guys, let's get into, of course, the best bang for your buck for your relic selector books. Of course, sometimes from events, you're going to get yourself these bad boys right here, the relic engraving pouch selectors that, of course, are bound to your character. And then you have to wonder, which book should I actually buy? At the start, it was quite simple. You just went to your engraving recipes inside of the store and then you just lowered it by the price. And you can see, of course, that Grudge is the most expensive one currently, so you should buy this one, right? And the answer to that in the past was yes, but now it's actually no. And of course, with that comes some simple math. Of course, we have ourselves an Adrenaline book, which is 264k. We have ourselves a Grudge book at 341k. And I've put all the numbers into the calculator already. And of course, if you're wondering, the base value of Grudge is 2.542%, and Adrenaline is 4.103%. And of course, if you then do the math, then if you would spend the same amount of money for the same engravings, a Grudge would give you a 3.29% increase in damage, which is still less than 4.103 of Adrenaline. So if you want to be the most efficient for your gold versus damage, then of course still buying Adrenaline books over Grudge is better. But of course, I will say that if you just care about pure gold and you don't care about the damage gain you're gonna get from this, then of course getting Grudge books is still fine. But technically, Adrenaline would just be better for the progression of your account. But we're gonna now go into the damage increases per book, and of course they're gonna be on the screen right now. And these are assuming you have maximum movement speed, 80% crit rate, and 51% bonus crit damage. Going from legendary to relic tier, they're gonna be increasing your damage from Adrenaline 4.103%. So this is definitely always your best book to max if you're gonna run it. Keyblade Weapon 2.898. Assuming, of course, if you have more crit rate, it's gonna increase this number. But what's nice, it's at the number 2 spot anyway, so it can only get better from there. Raid Captain at 2.759% increase. Hitmaster, Curse, those stabilized states, and all those kind of engravings are all a 2.632% increase. Then Grudge at 2.542, and then honorable mention of Ambush Master and Master Brawler, which are run by few characters, 2.672. So you can see that by far in every single scenario, Grudge is the worst book to pick up, and especially for the price. And then you're wondering, of course, why is this book so expensive? We saw just seconds ago that going for a Grudge book will set you back currently 341,000 gold in EU. And the reason for that is because it's everyone last's book. And the thing as well is that it's the book used by most classes. Like, there's not a single class that doesn't run Grudge, but you can have that not everyone uses Adrenaline, not everyone uses Keyblade, not everyone uses Mass Increase or Stabilized Status or any other engraving. There's like so many characters that do not overlap all 5 engravings, but they all have one thing in common, and that is Grudge is there. So then, of course, it makes it actually quite simple. You're just going to look at your own class. What are the engravings you can run? Then you can, of course, cross-reference them to our sheet we had before, again on the screen right now. And then you can just look at the prices of them. For example, if you look at a Curse Doll, which is going to be right here. Curse Doll, if you just look at the base values, goes from a 14% to a 17%. But you can see that Stabilized Status as well goes from a 14% to a 17%. So it's technically the exact same damage increase, which we saw before as well in our numbers. So that is the question, why would you even run Stabilized Status, like, you know, or why would you just go run Curse Doll? There technically is no reason why you wouldn't run either or. It's just about the negative. And of course, can you play around it? Like, if you go below 65% HP on Stabilized Status, you will lose the buff. But of course, Curse Dolls, like, you can use less potions because they're gonna heal you 25% less. So it's just totally up to your own personal preference. But if we just look at Curse Doll, for example, you can see that it's 160k. But if you look at Stabilized Status, which gives the exact same damage increase, so if you can play around it, it is going to be literally more than 10 times cheaper because it's only 10,000 gold per book. So 200,000 gold for a full 20 relic book for 3% damage. And of course, that with the calculated one, it's a little bit less. But you can see that, of course, if you would have Cursed Doll, that would have been 3.2 million gold instead. So what books would I definitely recommend upping first? First of all, of course, putting my selectors in Adrenaline is what I would do. Then I would go for the cheapest engraving possible that my character can run, with one exception in my opinion, because I think this one is a little bit of a noob trap, and that is the MP efficiency increase, because this one only starts at 13% damage and goes up to a maximum of 16. So still, even if you would go for this one, I know it gives free mana, so that could be nice for you. Maybe you don't have to use mana food, but the maximum you can get out of this one is 16% compared to the 17 of most other engravings, which includes like barricades and all those kind of things. And these are very cheap, and if your character runs these, you should definitely get these first. Then of course, if you're gonna go into the most expensive ones, I definitely, instead of going for Grudge or going as well for like Cursed Doll, I would personally go for Keen Blunt Weapon. But this is totally based on how much crit damage you have and how much crit rate you have. But if you have like almost 100% crit rate, Keen Blunt goes only up in efficiency, and it's just very, very nice. But definitely, in my opinion, my most underrated book is going to be Save That Status. I've been saying it so many times to everyone. Having a book that's equal to Cursed Doll, just by, you know, you have to make sure that you're staying above 65% HP for a fraction of the price, in my opinion, is just the biggest steal in the history of Lost Ark. I think it's still being slept on, and definitely worth grabbing up, in my opinion. Okay, so I hope that made it a little bit more clear for the DPS engravings. Let's go into the support ones. So now we've arrived, of course, to the support section, and this one actually is even easier, in my opinion, than anything of the DPS section. And that is simple, because Magic Stream is by far, no matter what it would have costed, the best engraving for supports. The reason why it's the best engraving for supports to up, and in my opinion should be a priority over anything, upgrading gems or whatever, Magic Stream should be the first thing you do. And the reason is that because you get yourself 3% extra cooldown reduction with the relic version of Magic Stream. And of course, to keep that into perspective, what is 3%? Actually, that is 1.5 tiers of gems for everything you have. And that is not even including just your spells, that's including your T-skill, your awakening, and everything. It is all based on that. It is so broken busted. It is really, really, really good. Of course, if you want to compare to that, of course, like normally a gem, if you go currently from like a level 7 to level 8, we'll set you back around 300k. It's quite a lot of money. If you compare that, that's for all 8 spells, that's 300k times 8, and then not even including your T-skill and as well your awakening skill as well. Like it influences everything. It is so good. So by far, no matter what you're doing, Magic Stream is your #1 engraving to up. Then of course, up next is going to be the talk about the other ones, because there's a few of them out there. We have ourselves all these right here. We as well have like vital hit points, and you have even some stuff like explosive expert or like crushing fist, and maybe even spirit absorption if you really want to run like a spec build. In my opinion, these are so cheap that you can buy these if you want to. If you think that you're like kind of feeling like a niche role, or like you need some more stagger, or you think it's worth it, these are not that expensive. Okay, take a look real quick at like vital hit point, for example. It's like 2k per book. Spirit absorption, it is like 800 book. I don't know, if so crushing fist, let's go, that's probably gonna be like 600. Yeah, and then we have ourselves explosive expert. Yeah, like 300 gold a book. So you can see that those kind of books you can just buy. If you have like 10,000 gold later around and you really want to upgrade the books, go ahead. We're talking about the big section here on the right: the awakening, the drops of ether, the magic stream, the expert, and the heavy armor. So first of all, of course, heavy armor doesn't do anything. It gives you 60% more defense, but in my opinion, you shouldn't need this amount. And it's just there to look nice for your whole set of engravings. So in my opinion, heavy armor is going to be your last engraving you're gonna up out of this bunch on the top 5. Then in my opinion, the one after that is going to be expert. Expert is pretty decent. It gives 4% more shielding and healing, but for most classes, and especially bards, this doesn't really do that much. You're not healing anyway, not shielding as much, and is 4% really gonna matter that much? Probably not. And especially for the price of experts, I don't really think it's really worth it. You can see it's 63,000 gold per book. This again is something you're just like, you want to fill up your full relic set, you buy expert, you maybe want to get yourself some free combat score, because of course shielding and healing counts for combat score, you get yourself expert, but otherwise there's literally zero reason for that. Then we get of course to the two important engravings. Drops of Ether, which at a relic tier gives you 60% efficiency increase, and then Awakening gives you 6% awakening skill cooldown. So, in my opinion, the better one of the two, just because of the price, in my opinion, is Drops of Ether. It gives you more Ether effectiveness. People love yourself some extra damage and some extra crits, some extra cool, like everything, like it's really nice. Of course, it can as well turn into a nothing engraving if you just get unlucky, get yourselves the wind and the defense ethers, you know, but still overall, the DPSs love their Drops of Ether drops. And in my opinion, for how expensive Drops of Ether is, I think it's not that bad. It's 25k a book, so that means 500,000 gold to finish off the set. If you compare it to Awakening, Awakening is 68,000 gold, so that's almost 3 times the price, and I don't think it's worth it. The reason why you could pick Awakening before you go get Drops of Ether is if you're dropping a lot more spec on your builds than Swiftness, because of course something that's very important for supports is Awakening, and normally gives them, you know, their full bar, or 1 bar, or 2 bars, whatever it gives you to your support. And if you're running more of a spec build, your Awakening is going to have a longer cooldown. Then of course, like, you run yourself your new engraving at relic tier on Awakening, you get still 6% extra cooldown on Awakening. So technically, if you run the same amount of Awakening cooldown, you can technically get 6% more specialization and drop it in Swift, and your Awakening still should feel the same and has the same uptime. So that could be a reason why you go for it, but in my opinion, it is going to be Magic Stream into Drops of Ether, into Awakening, into either or expert or heavy armor. Expert if you want more combat score, Awakening, heavy armor if you want a little bit of a cheaper engraving, and in my opinion, like I said, expert doesn't really add much. And then on the left, of course, the other support engravings, the spirit absorption, the vital hit points, explosive expert crush fist, or even max MP efficiency. You can just, max MP increase, you can buy at any time. There's not really like you have to wait for this. If you want to buy this even before Magic Stream, totally fine, because they're so cheap. But there we have it, guys. That's technically all the books in Relic tier for support and DPS. Of course, I hope that made you make a little bit of a better decision of what book to get next. Of course, if you totally disagree with some of my takes, let me know in the comment section down below as well. Thanks so much for watching, and see you guys again soon for another video. Take care.